So I'm back home now with the files from my parents' basement that I absconded with. So my adoption records, which I've gone through a little bit, and I'm trying to come up with a plan on how to confront them about finding out that I'm adopted at 33 years old and the shock of all that. Um, and maybe confronting them is the wrong word to use. I need to talk with them about it for sure and ask questions and find out, why and all those types of things. But I still don't know how it's going to play out. How sensitive a topic is this for them? Will they be willing to share information that they may have? Or is this a big threat to them and their security with their kids they've adopted and raised? So my plan of action that I came away with after my trip to Chicago and finding all this out was to talk to a cousin of mine. And she was 10 years older than me, and they lived nearby. So I was familiar with her. She had actually babysat for me and my sister when we were younger, and we're still in touch. So that's a great thing even today. And the other reason I wanted to talk with her was because she and her husband had actually adopted two kids on their own. And I knew about that even when I was a young adult. And they were very open in their adoptive efforts in sharing what they were doing with family and also sharing with their kids that as soon as they were able to understand, they told them they were adopted. And maybe that was 8 or 10 years old. I don't remember exactly. But in my mind, it's like she's the perfect person to talk to because family member, familiarity, and she understands the adoption issue and where I might be coming from. So that's the crazy thing. So I talked to her on the phone and was shocked to find out, like, she's like, oh, everybody knew. What's the big deal? I'm like, well, it's a big deal to me. And I felt really dumb. Like, how did I not pick up on this for all these years when it seems like it was just easy common knowledge throughout the family? And I'm talking about kind of a large family. I mean, my adoptive father had 6 brothers and sisters, and there were kids. We'd go to family reunions where it seemed like there were hundreds of people. So how this never broke down into somebody slipping up or me getting it is stunning to me. But anyway, she just kind of reiterated, you need to talk to your parents and just ask them, but just be sensitive that it's a very personal issue. And I think we all forget, even for like my birth mother, how challenging the times were in the 1950s and maybe further in the past, because this was a very secretive thing. I mean, getting pregnant out of wedlock was a big no-no, right? So you had only a few options, and none of them were really that great, in the sense that a single woman on her own would have to keep her pregnancy from her parents and either go get a back alley abortion or go become an au pair or live with another family somewhere for a year so she could follow through with the pregnancy and give up the baby for an adoption, and then just show up back at home a year later as if nothing happened. Like she wasn't pregnant when she left, and she wasn't pregnant when she got back. So those are strong feelings to keep silent, and for a birth mother to go through that type of experience on her own without family support is pretty telling. But even for my parents, my adoptive parents, this was a very secretive thing. They went through lawyers and courts, and court records were sealed, and all these things. They didn't want the kids to find out back then. And clearly my parents probably didn't want us to know at all. So finding this out in the way I did is a shock, not only to me, but it's going to be a shock to them when I have to talk with them about it. So it's just crazy to think about that. I just could not pick up on that this was my reality, that, I never did see a photo of my adoptive mother around the house where she was pregnant. There wasn't that. There was a big age difference between my adoptive parents and other parents of kids my age. They had been married a while, and they were older to begin with. And then just physical differences between my sister and I, and even my parents. So it just, all these things that make so much sense when you find out the one sliver of truth that connects them all. I never put it together for all those years. So very, very crazy. So, and I can remember having an argument with my parents when I was in high school. I don't even remember the topic, but it was about, I confronted them saying, I can't understand that you don't know where I'm coming from, which was kind of like the DNA argument. I was saying, I come from your loins. How can you not understand my way of thinking? At least that was my argument. And I remember my mother, my adoptive mother's just kind of blank stare and not retorting to my strong comment at the time. And I also did find out later in this whole process that my sister, who I grew up with, had sensed it more than I had. And she had actually confronted my parents and saying, hey, am I adopted? And this was when she was in high school, and they denied it to her face. So a very private thing. But I got some good feedback from my cousin, getting my thoughts together, getting prepared for the conversation with my adoptive parents. And in the next episode, we're going to go through that event, and then what happens after that. That's really important as well, and pretty shocking. We'll do a side topic on what happened with my sister's adoptive family as part of that conversation. So I hope to see you next time. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I hope you stick along for the ride.